When you value yourself, you only attract the best. Old Stoic wisdom. What would change if you truly knew your worth, not through cheap affirmations, but from a realization that seeps into the very marrow of your being? The truth is, most of us are living below our true value. We barter with our emotions. We forgive relationships that drain us dry. We endure jobs that kill our passions one by one. We settle for crumbs of kindness because deep down we don't believe we deserve anything more. Carl Jung, the father of analytical psychology, doesn't teach you to love yourself in a cliched way. He teaches you to dig into the deepest layers of your unconscious, to face the shadows you've denied, and to make peace with yourself. According to Jung, when you truly value yourself, you stop attracting what's harmful and start drawing in the very best. And what is the very best? It's the people and opportunities that resonate with the authentic energy you embody. It's a life no longer out of sync with your heart. As the Stoics would say, the obstacle is the way. The journey to realizing your worth is not a smooth path, but it leads to a life where you attract only the best, because that's what you have become. In this exploration, we'll uncover why the key to everything you seek lies not in others' approval, but in the awakening that is waiting to rise within you. Stay with me until the end. Your journey to self-realization may be the shift that brings the life you truly deserve. Number 1. The unconscious and its silent control. You are not your thoughts. You are not your emotions. What you are is the awareness that exists beyond them, the stillness beneath the noise. In life, we often find ourselves trapped in repetitive patterns, drawn to situations or people that reflect our deepest fears and unresolved wounds. This is not some external force plotting against you. It is your own mind, conditioned by experiences long past, that shapes the way you see the world and respond to it. But here's the thing. You are not bound to these patterns unless you allow yourself to be. Like the Stoics who sought to master their inner lives and rise above the chaos of external circumstances, you too must rise above the grip of the unconscious. You must confront the irrational fears and emotional scars that govern your behavior. For the unconscious, as Jung pointed out, is not a passive storage space for forgotten memories, but an active force, shaping your reactions in ways you don't fully understand. It is a force that works relentlessly, creating illusions of fate that keep you locked in cycles of suffering and discontent. But just as the Stoics taught that we cannot control the events that happen to us, we can control how we respond to them. The unconscious is no different. It is a natural part of the human experience, and while you cannot erase the past or the emotional imprints left on your soul, you can choose to face them, recognize them, confront them. Do not let them shape your future unless you allow it. You must make the unconscious conscious, as Jung said, and only then can you take back your power. For it is only when we stop calling our repeated mistakes fate and instead recognize them for what they are, unexamined patterns, that we can begin to live freely. Understand this. Your thoughts and emotions, like the stormy seas, will always be in flux. What matters is how you anchor yourself in the truth of who you really are. If you believe yourself unworthy or inadequate, your life will reflect that belief. The Stoics would say that the judgment of your own worth is an internal matter, a choice only you can make. If you let the unconscious shape you, then you surrender your power. If you allow past wounds to dictate your relationships, your career, and your emotional state, then you are living not by your own will, but by the unconscious forces of old habits. But you are more than that. You are the awareness that can choose differently. You are the one who decides what beliefs will guide you. Stop waiting for life to change. Change yourself. Free yourself from the unconscious grip of the past. The Stoics were masters of inner freedom because they understood one simple truth. No external force has the power to control your peace unless you allow it. When you confront the unconscious, when you make it conscious, you take the first step toward true freedom. This is not an act of escape, but an act of responsibility. To live with integrity, to live with purpose, is to be aware, to face reality without flinching, and to direct your life toward virtue. You must choose to act in alignment with your highest values, not the conditioned responses of a past you can no longer change. Don't let the unconscious run your life. Become the master of your own mind, and in doing so, you will become the master of your own fate. Number 2, the shadow. In every man, there is a shadow, a part of himself he may not wish to confront. This shadow exists in the thoughts and emotions he does not express, the feelings he hides from others, and even from himself. It could manifest as resentment towards a peer's success, frustration over being overlooked, or a sense of isolation in a seemingly fulfilling relationship. For some, it is a quiet but persistent insecurity. For others, it's the relentless pressure to be better, to meet an ideal that is never fully attainable. Carl Jung, the renowned psychoanalyst, identified this hidden aspect of our psyche as the shadow, the darker, unconscious part of the self that holds emotions and impulses we deem unacceptable. It is a place of internal conflict, where feelings like envy, anger, jealousy, and shame are stored away. In the eyes of society, these emotions are seen as negative and undesirable, so we suppress them. The Stoic philosophy, however, would argue that this suppression is counterproductive, and that the shadow must be understood and integrated for one to live a life of virtue and reason. The shadow is not inherently evil, but a natural result of trying to uphold a particular image of self. In Jung's terms, it is the collection of those elements of ourselves we reject, the imperfections that do not align with societal expectations. The Stoics would assert that attempting to eliminate these parts of ourselves only weakens our capacity for wisdom and self-control. To fight the shadow is to fight the natural complexity of human existence. The more we try to repress our emotions, says the Stoic, the more those emotions control us. Jung's warning is clear. Everyone carries a shadow, and the less it is embodied in the individual's conscious life, the blacker and denser it becomes. Denial of the shadow leads to its manifestation in unanticipated ways. Emotions that seem to arise for no reason, such as disproportionate anger or irrational jealousy, are often signs that the shadow has crept into our consciousness. The Stoics might say that this is a failure of self-awareness, an indication that we have neglected to understand and control our emotions in the first place. The Stoics, from Epictetus to Marcus Aurelius, taught us that the path to virtue is through understanding the self and accepting its inherent imperfections. They would argue that the shadow is not something to run from, but something to confront directly, with reason and clarity. Anger, jealousy, and insecurity are all human emotions. They are neither good nor bad. It is our response to them, our choices, that shape us. To be fully human is to recognize that these emotions will arise, and to deal with them not by suppression, but by reasoned acceptance. A common error, as the Stoics would point out, is in identifying with the shadow rather than observing it objectively. To claim, I am angry, or I am jealous, is to accept the shadow as part of your identity. The Stoics would remind you that you are not your emotions. You are the rational being who can observe and decide how to respond to them. The goal is not to deny these emotions, but to maintain control over them, using reason to guide our actions. Jung's insight that the brighter the light, the longer the shadow, speaks directly to the Stoic understanding of virtue and self-control. The more we strive for excellence, the greater the potential for internal conflict, because we often push ourselves to meet ideals that are, by nature, unattainable. The Stoic does not pursue perfection, but rather aims to live in accordance with nature, accepting their flaws while striving to improve. The Stoic seeks not to eliminate the shadow, but to understand it and integrate it into a well-lived life. Take, for example, the story of the mother who, after years of calm, snaps at her child, or the wife who leaves a marriage that has lasted decades without explanation. The Stoic would view these moments not as emotional outbursts, but as a failure of self-mastery. They would argue that these individuals have not confronted their inner conflicts, and, as a result, their shadow has taken control. In the Stoic view, true peace comes from internal equilibrium. and that equilibrium is achieved by acknowledging, understanding, and rationally responding to one's emotions. But how does one begin to confront the shadow? The answer lies in self-examination and self-prioritization. To the Stoics, self-examination is central to the practice of philosophy. It is through understanding one's internal state that a person can begin to separate themselves from their emotions and begin to respond with wisdom. Just as Marcus Aurelius advised, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. When we are continually distracted by the expectations of others, chasing success, accumulating possessions, seeking approval, we fail to cultivate the internal discipline necessary for peace. Success will always be hollow if we fail to understand and control the forces within us. The Stoic would encourage us to turn inward, to spend time in reflection, and to examine our thoughts and feelings with the same discipline we apply to our external actions. Carl Jung's concept of integrating the shadow aligns with the Stoic practice of self-mastery. Jung suggested that to become whole, one must confront the darker parts of the self. This process requires honesty, a brutal honesty where we admit, I feel jealousy, I feel anger, I feel fear. The Stoics would take this one step further by urging us to not just admit these emotions, but to examine them with reason. Why do we feel jealous? What does this emotion reveal about our desires and our values? What can we learn from it? Jung also recognized that confronting the shadow requires taking responsibility for our own lives. The world will ask you who you are, and if you don't know, the world will tell you. The Stoic would say that we must know who we are, and we must shape our identity through conscious choice. If we fail to examine our emotions and our impulses, we leave our identity in the hands of external forces, allowing the world to dictate who we are. When we begin to see our shadow clearly, when we accept that our emotions are a part of us but not the entirety of who we are, we free ourselves. We no longer need to perform or prove ourselves to others. We stop seeking validation because we have found peace within. We start living in accordance with our true nature. The Stoic path is not about avoiding our imperfections or suppressing our emotions. It's about understanding them, accepting them, and using reason to control how we respond. In this way, we become whole, integrated beings, no longer prisoners to the shadow, but masters of it. And in doing so, we attract the best, because we are fully ourselves, unshaken by external forces, and at peace with our own nature. To value yourself is not to strive for perfection, but to embrace the full spectrum of your humanity, both light and dark. When you can face the shadow with reason and self-control, you will not only attract the best, but you will also find a deep, unwavering peace. Number 3, daring to let go. To truly value yourself, you must understand the power of letting go. There are things in life that, no matter how hard you try, cannot be salvaged, not because you haven't tried enough, but because they were never truly yours to begin with. Relationships that no longer serve your growth, dreams that have become chains instead of wings. These are not signs of failure. They are signs of evolution. You must learn to see the difference. Holding on to the past, to what no longer aligns with who you are, is a sign of weakness. It is a refusal to evolve, to embrace the fullness of who you are becoming. Remember the words of Epictetus: freedom is the only thing you cannot have unless you give it to others. In life, growth means shedding the old. It is not surrendering or giving up, but a courageous step toward your own truth. Carl Jung, a master of the human psyche, said it best: the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Letting go is not a sign of failure. It is the gateway to becoming your authentic self, a self that no longer needs the crutches of past identities or outdated beliefs. Like the butterfly that must break free from the cocoon to soar, you too must shed the skins that have kept you contained. What once anchored you, what once defined you, may now be a burden. That is not defeat. It is liberation. If you continue to cling to what no longer serves you, you are merely existing, not living. When you are bound to outdated relationships or dreams, You are keeping yourself small, trapped in a version of yourself that the world has long moved past. You cannot step into the fullness of your power if you refuse to release what is holding you back. The Stoics warned us against living according to others' expectations. When you bend and break to fulfill someone else's vision of who you should be, you forfeit your own truth. You are what you do, not what you say you'll do. Letting go is a deliberate, intentional act, one that requires strength and clarity. You cannot hear the authentic call of your own voice if it is drowned out by the noise of the world around you. So, let's be clear: when you continue to hold on to things, people, or dreams that do not serve you, you are not being loyal to yourself. Loyalty to the past is simply fear dressed as attachment. You must ask yourself, what are you truly loyal to? The comfort of the known, or the promise of a brighter, truer future? Letting go isn't just an option. It is a vital step in your journey toward mastery over your life. So, how can a man practice individuation and truly let go of what no longer reflects his essence? Below are specific practices to guide you. Practices to guide you. If you're ready, comment "I'm ready" below and let's begin together. Practice 1. Dialogue with your inner self. You must begin with a conversation, a dialogue with yourself. Stoics' concept of active imagination is powerful, urging us to have purposeful conversations with the parts of ourselves that we fear losing. Picture this: you're writing a letter or speaking directly to that nagging part of you, whether it's an outdated role, an exhausting relationship, or a burden of expectation. Speak to it as though it were a separate entity with a voice. In doing so, you'll uncover the true reasons behind its hold on you. And here's the key: once you engage, the fear begins to unravel, the clinging dissipates. Don't shy away from this inner dialogue. Often, the parts of ourselves we fear to let go of are the ones that have overstayed their welcome. They stay because they fear they'll be forgotten or ignored. In speaking to them, you give them the respect they deserve, and in return, they'll reveal their purpose in your life. But remember, this is not about clinging to the old. It's about freeing yourself. Practice 2. Observe what drains you without reason. In Stoicism, we are taught to identify what disturbs our peace of mind and to act on it. Emotions, often irrational and unexplained, are signals that something in our environment or within us is misaligned with our true nature. Jung's observation that unexplained exhaustion is a call from the self resonates strongly with Stoic teachings. The Stoic ideal is to live with clarity and calm, but if your emotional energy is drained, this is a sign that you have strayed from your center. Do not ignore this signal. Track the sources of your drain, whether they are people, situations, or even your own thoughts. In the absence of reason, there lies truth. You do not need to rationalize every emotion. Sometimes, emotions are the language of the soul, not of logic. This is a key Stoic lesson. You must trust your inner state more than external appearances. The energy you expend on things that do not serve you is energy lost. Let go of these influences, not because they are inherently bad, but because they pull you away from the focus and purpose that should guide your life. Practice 3. Observe recurring dreams. The Stoic accepts that the unconscious mind holds valuable wisdom. Dreams, as Jung suggested, are fragmented reflections of the deeper parts of the self. These symbols are not random. They hold the keys to transformation. To ignore them is to ignore an aspect of your soul. The Stoic believes in examining every part of their experience, understanding that nothing in life happens without purpose. Your dreams reveal recurring themes or symbols because your unconscious is trying to communicate a deeper truth. By recognizing recurring symbols, whether it's water, staircases, or strangers, you're learning to understand the subtle messages of the unconscious. Do not dismiss these symbols as meaningless. To the Stoic, even the smallest sign has meaning. If you reject the deeper messages of your soul, you will continue to wander in confusion. But when you decode these dreams, you gain insight into the next steps of your journey. You start to understand the inner landscape more clearly. By understanding these symbols, you let go of confusion and embrace clarity. Practice 4. Saying no and staying silent. The Stoic knows that the greatest freedom lies in the ability to choose your response. Saying no is one of the most powerful acts of autonomy. Every time you refuse to engage in something that does not align with your principles, you assert your identity. It is an affirmation of your self-respect. In a world constantly demanding your attention and approval, choosing silence and restraint becomes an act of great strength. The Stoic does not react impulsively to every external stimulus. The power lies in choosing not to react. Silence does not mean weakness. It means you are aligned with your inner purpose, and you are not swayed by external forces. In this, the Stoic resembles the stillness of nature, resilient, calm, and unwavering. When you stay silent, you reinforce your sovereignty. The ego may try to urge you to explain yourself, to justify or defend, but true strength lies in remaining unmoved by the external chaos. In modern life, saying no is a Stoic act of detachment, a refusal to engage with distractions that do not serve your purpose. Letting go of unnecessary demands on your time and energy allows you to reclaim your agency and your peace. The paradox of letting go. The Stoic paradox of letting go is this: it is not a loss but a gateway to freedom. The wisdom of Jung and the Stoics alike reveals that releasing what no longer serves you is essential to becoming your true self. When you hold onto outdated beliefs, relationships, or goals, you are chaining yourself to a version of yourself that no longer exists. Letting go is not the end, it is the beginning. In Stoicism, the soul must periodically undergo a process of purification, a shedding of the old to make room for the new. The Stoic accepts that growth requires change, and change requires letting go. This is not a sacrifice, but an essential part of the journey toward tranquility. When you release the unnecessary, you create space for something more in alignment with your true purpose. You make space for the best to enter your life, the inner garden. The Stoics often referred to the mind as a garden. It must be cultivated with intention. If left untended, the weeds of old regrets, failures, and attachments will choke the life out of the good things waiting to grow. You must be diligent in uprooting the dead plants and making room for new growth. Do not fear the act of clearing away what has withered, for in doing so, you make room for something vital and alive to take its place. If you are unwilling to clear your inner garden, then you will be stuck in a state of stagnation, unable to move forward. True beauty, true fulfillment, can only arise when you tend to the mind with discipline, discernment, and detachment. The Stoic path is not one of mere endurance, it is one of active transformation. By letting go of the past, you create space for a new, more authentic future. Number 4. Living from the authentic self. When you value yourself, you don't need to chase after external approval or scramble to meet societal expectations. Instead, you begin to attract the right things, the right people, and the right experiences effortlessly. You see, true power comes not from seeking validation, but from standing firm in your own authenticity. Be yourself. Everyone else is already taken, as Oscar Wilde wisely put it. And the essence of Stoicism echoes this truth. The self is the core from which everything meaningful radiates. In a world full of distractions and ever-changing expectations, the authentic self remains the only constant. Living from your authentic self is a quiet rebellion, one that isn't loud or flashy. It's a return to who you were before you learned to wear masks, before society taught you what you should be. It's a shedding of the roles you've adopted, the labels that others have placed upon you, and the endless search for approval. Don't live to meet expectations. Living authentically means you stop bending yourself out of shape to fit a mold that was never meant for you. Stop living for others and start living for yourself. That is your true freedom. Carl Jung, that great thinker, spoke of this transformative journey as the call of the self. It's a call we all hear at some point, often when the life we've been living no longer feels like ours. When you begin to value yourself, you realize that the roles and titles that once seemed so important, the perfect job, the admiration of others, the pursuit of success, are all just distractions. The true purpose lies in aligning with your own soul. You must listen to that inner voice that urges you to shed the layers that never truly belong to you. The self is a sacred thing, and it can't thrive when it's hidden beneath the weight of expectations or the desire to conform. You don't need to outshine others to live authentically. In fact, trying to outshine is the very opposite of what authenticity is about. Don't seek to impress. Seek to express. When you align with your true self, you no longer have to chase after life's fleeting rewards. They come to you. Your essence becomes magnetic. The people who resonate with your energy will be drawn to you. The opportunities that align with your path will present themselves at the perfect moment. This is the magic of synchronicity, a concept Jung believed was the universe's response to living in harmony with your inner truth. When you act from a place of authenticity, the outer world reflects it. You don't have to go searching for what you need. It finds you. Living authentically requires courage because you must confront your fears and illusions. It's about clearing away the debris of past roles and false identities. You must be willing to lose things you thought were essential, friendships, job titles, even comforts. But in doing so, you gain the most precious thing yourself. The road is not always easy. Don't expect it to be. But each small step towards authenticity frees a piece of your soul. You may experience moments of doubt, tears, and frustration, but these are merely the signs that you are shedding layers that no longer serve you. Keep moving forward. In Stoicism, it is said that we must live in accordance with nature, and what could be more natural than returning to the self that was always meant to be? This journey of self-actualization is not about becoming someone else, but about discovering who you've always been underneath the masks and roles. You don't need to become worthy of love, success, or peace. You must simply realize that you are already worthy. You are enough. Once you recognize this, you'll stop trying to prove your worth, and the world will begin to mirror your inner peace. Live from that place of self-worth and watch how the universe adjusts accordingly. Jung believed that those who live from the self have a healing presence. Be that presence. It's not about grand gestures or eloquent speeches. It's about showing up as you truly are. You don't need to announce yourself to the world. When you live authentically, the world notices you. Even when you don't shout for attention, you become a living embodiment of the truth you've rediscovered. Don't hide your light. The moment you allow yourself to shine, the right people will be drawn to you. The world will see you not for who you pretend to be, but for who you truly are. Living authentically is not about striving to be perfect. It's not about adding anything to yourself. It's about removing everything that doesn't serve you. Don't accumulate more roles, more identities, more expectations. Instead, chip away at what's not you. Each step you take to uncover your true self is a step towards peace, and with it, an undeniable magnetic force that attracts only the best. You'll attract not just opportunities, but people who appreciate you for who you are. No masks, no pretenses. So, ask yourself, are you living authentically, or are you living for others, conforming to an image that was never meant to define you? Value yourself, and the world will respond accordingly. Life will stop being something you have to chase after, and instead become something you attract. Number 5, embracing change with courage. To truly value yourself, you must first come to terms with one undeniable reality: change is a constant. We may try to resist it, cling to the comfortable, or deny its inevitability, but the truth remains: growth cannot happen unless we allow ourselves to step into the unknown. Change feels uncomfortable, unsettling, and at times, even threatening. It can seem like a force that wants to uproot everything we know. Yet, when you learn to value yourself, you start to understand that change is not a threat. It is an opportunity. When you embrace change, you allow yourself to evolve, to grow into a version of yourself that is better, stronger, and more aligned with who you truly are. Carl Jung, one of the most insightful thinkers of the modern age, understood this truth when he said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. However, becoming the person you are meant to be is not a passive process. It is a journey that requires shedding the old, outdated version of yourself that no longer serves you. You cannot hold on to your past self and expect to grow into the best version of you. This is where the wisdom of the Stoics intersects with Jung's thought. Both philosophies understand that change, though often outside our control, is something we must accept. The Stoics especially would tell you that the only thing you can control in the face of change is how you respond to it. Change is inevitable, and we cannot resist it, but how we respond to it is the key to transformation. The Stoics emphasize the importance of embracing discomfort as part of the process. Discomfort, though it may feel unpleasant, is not a signal that something is wrong. It is a sign that you are evolving. To resist discomfort is to resist the very force that is propelling you forward. The moment you accept change, the moment you stop fighting against it, you open the door to growth. It is only when you stop clinging to what is familiar, even when it no longer serves you, that you free yourself from the constraints of the past and allow yourself to embrace the future with open arms. When you refuse to let go of what is no longer serving you, you are limiting your potential. Think about it. The past is a memory. The present is where your power lies. If you remain tied to outdated habits, ideas, or ways of thinking, you are tethering yourself to a version of yourself that is no longer relevant to the person you are becoming. The only way to step into your future is to release what no longer serves you. The Stoics, especially Epictetus, taught us that we must focus on what we can control, and often, the first step is controlling how we respond to change. You can choose to be a passive participant in your own life, resisting the inevitable, or you can choose to be an active participant, leaning into the change and allowing it to shape you into something greater. Courage is required in this process, not just any courage, but the courage to embrace uncertainty and discomfort. Courage is the strength to release what is safe, what is familiar, and what feels comforting, even when it defines your current reality. Marcus Aurelius, a Stoic philosopher whose wisdom still resonates today, once said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This means that the obstacles, challenges, and changes you resist may be the very forces that propel you forward. Often, what you fear most is exactly what you need to embrace in order to move ahead. The change you are avoiding may be the catalyst that will set you on the path toward new opportunities, new energy, and new experiences that align with your deepest values. Change is not a door that slams shut. It is a door that opens, inviting you to step into a life that aligns with your true self. On the other side of that door is something better, something more authentic, something that resonates with the core of who you are. The life you've always dreamed of is waiting for you, but you must be willing to step through the door of change to claim it. The Stoics understood that life is a process of constant evolution, and if you do not allow yourself to evolve, you will be left behind, stuck in a version of yourself that no longer reflects your true nature. This is the crux of valuing yourself. You must embrace change, not fear it. You must understand that in change, there is growth, and in growth, there is freedom. Freedom to be the person you were meant to be. Stop resisting. Stop holding on to what no longer serves you. Let go of the comfortable, the familiar, and step into the unknown. The journey is not easy, but it is the only way forward. Embrace change, because on the other side, the life you want, the life you deserve, is waiting for you. So take that step. Open that door. Don't look back. The best is yet to come. Number 6. Cultivating self-compassion. To truly value yourself, you must understand that self-compassion is an essential, non-negotiable aspect of a life well lived. In a society that constantly pushes for perfection, that praises achievement above all else, and measures your worth by what you've done rather than who you are. It's easy to lose sight of this truth. In the relentless pursuit of external validation, we forget that the most important relationship you will ever cultivate is the one you have with yourself. This is where many falter. They mistakenly equate self-compassion with weakness or indulgence, They believe that to succeed, to be strong, they must demand perfection from themselves and beat themselves up when they fall short. But nothing could be further from the truth. Self-compassion isn't about avoiding responsibility or shirking accountability. It's about recognizing that you are human. It's about acknowledging that you will make mistakes, and those mistakes do not define your worth. It's about being kind to yourself, especially when you fail, and offering yourself the same understanding and grace that you would extend to a close friend. We are all too familiar with self-criticism. Our society often teaches us to push past our imperfections and to disregard our limitations. Yet, to truly grow, you must first accept who you are. The unexamined life is not worth living, Socrates famously said, and the very act of examining yourself begins with self-compassion. It's about giving yourself permission to learn, to evolve, and to grow, without the burden of harsh judgment or unrealistic expectations. This is a core tenet of Stoic philosophy. The Stoics did not advocate for self-punishment or constant dissatisfaction. Instead, they championed rational self-assessment. They understood that life is challenging. They knew that suffering was inevitable, but they also knew that how we respond to life's difficulties defines us. He who is not a good servant will not be a good master, Marcus Aurelius asserted. And so, to master yourself, you must first understand yourself with all your flaws, imperfections, and strengths. Carl Jung, too, believed that to truly know yourself, you must accept every part of you. It's easy to accept the parts that are strong, capable, and admirable, but it's the parts that are broken, vulnerable, or flawed that often hold the key to your true growth. You cannot conquer them if you continually try to hide them. In fact, when you embrace them with compassion, you unlock the power of self-acceptance, which leads to deep personal transformation. As you begin to treat yourself with self-compassion, you shift the very foundation of your life. You stop measuring your worth by fleeting successes or the opinions of others. Instead, you begin to see your true value in terms of your resilience, your capacity for growth, and your willingness to learn from your experiences. In that process, you stop chasing perfection. You stop demanding that everything be flawless. You realize that life is not about achieving unattainable ideals, but about growing, progressing, and continually becoming better. And that is when the most powerful thing happens. You begin to attract the best. When you stop seeking approval from others, when you no longer rely on external validation, you create space for authentic relationships to enter your life. You draw in people who appreciate you for who you truly are, not for some version of yourself that you've created to meet other people's expectations. This is where self-compassion transforms your life. It's not about self-indulgence, it's about self-respect. When you respect yourself, you radiate confidence, you radiate power, and when you radiate that kind of authenticity, you attract opportunities, relationships, and success. Not because you are chasing them, but because you are living in alignment with your highest values. Modern life is full of distractions, pressures, and constant noise. We're told we need to be everything to everyone, to achieve more, to do more, to be more. But amidst all this, the greatest achievement is learning to accept yourself, flaws and all. The power of self-compassion lies in this simple truth. When you are kind to yourself, when you stop punishing yourself for every mistake, you unlock the full potential of who you can be. Be kind. For everyone you meet is fighting a harder battle. Plato reminds us, and this includes yourself. You are fighting your own battles, some seen, some unseen. And the greatest gift you can give yourself is the understanding that you are worthy of your own compassion. So, let go of the idea that you must always strive to be perfect, always chase after success, or always meet other people's expectations. You must stop demanding that you be flawless. Perfection is a myth. Life is about progress, about becoming better, but always on your own terms. When you value yourself, when you show yourself compassion, you give yourself the freedom to be real, to be authentic, and in doing so, you begin to attract the best of what life has to offer. You will no longer have to chase success, approval, or admiration. They will come to you. you will draw in the right relationships, the right opportunities, and the right people, all because you have learned to treat yourself with the same respect and care that you would give anyone else worthy of your time and attention. So, stop beating yourself up, stop punishing yourself for every failure, start practicing self-compassion. You are worthy of the best life has to offer. Let this be your guiding truth when you value yourself. The best will naturally follow. You must be the change you wish to see in the world. Gandhi said, "Be that change within yourself first, and watch the world change around you." Hey friends, thank you so much for watching today. I hope this message about valuing yourself and attracting the best has truly resonated with you. Remember, when you put yourself first and honor your worth, you naturally create space for the right opportunities and the right people to enter your life. Don't let the noise of the world make you doubt your value. Now, if this resonates with you, please subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so we can keep this journey together. And before you go, I want to leave you with a question to sit with, one that could truly transform everything ahead of you if you answer it from the heart. Are you ready to embark on the journey of prioritizing yourself and awakening the wholeness within? Take care of yourselves, and I can't wait to see you in the next video.